It is 6 o'clock. I am going to open the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing continued from May 23rd, 2024. Tonight is May 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I'm going to do the roll call. Jennifer Maz is absent. David May.
Here.
Greg Schwanke.
Here.
Brett Fergie.
Here.
Nancy Clark.
Here.
Mark Dipner.
Here.
I will need a motion from the floor for one of you to appoint the other as temporary chairperson.
That's good shit. Everybody volunteer once? No.
Not it. Not it.
Right, we should.
That's fine.
I need a motion. Oh, you. Good.
I motion, temporary chair person.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, David made a motion to appoint Brett Fergie as the temporary chair for tonight's meeting. Nancy second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Floor is yours, Fergie. Our attorney is coming. He is running about 5 minutes late. So I think if we can get through the approval of the minutes.
Assuming then, need a motion for the approval of the June 28th meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second
Approval of
that
June
motion.
28th, 2023 and July 4th, 2023, planning zoning commission public hearing minutes.
Nancy, you
I'll
second.
second that.
You can do it all in favor?
I
All in
definitely
favor?
do, yeah.
All right. We do not need the appointment of a recording secretary for the meeting. As you see, I am here this time. However, because this is a continuation of the last meeting, I did have to bring over the same agenda. And at this point, we're kind of at a standstill until Mark.
I was gonna say, don't we need, okay.
He said no less than 5 minutes.
The way you explained it last week, that's what we need.
So I wouldn't just think about it.
This is a different. This is a little different.
Anybody who's gonna speak at the public hearing, I do need you to sign in up there first. Including those presenting, please, just so I have your name for record. Makes it easier on me later.
Yeah. This packet that we were handed, that'll be PowerPoint.
Got one more minute then, please. Way to give them the benefit of the doubt is probably second chapter.
You come in. Promote you.
Come in first. All right, now it's. I was ready to figure out 15 minutes early. We got through everything. We're to the point we need to.
Oh, very good. Perfect timing for me.
Brett has been appointed the temporary chair. I put you here. I did mention you said 5 minutes. It's just close enough. Floor is all yours.
Okay,
All yours. We are waiting for you on how to move forward with public.
Okay.
at this point.
very good. There's no other items of business tonight. So Brett, the first step would be to call the public hearing to order. And we'll swear in any witnesses that'll be presenting this evening.
Didn't we officially call to order already, Sandy?
You just say I'm calling the public hearing to order.
Oh, I thought that was part of, okay. Calling the public hearing to order then.
Now, I understand from a conversation with the applicant's representatives earlier, I think one of them I believe is with us remotely. Is that Bill?
That's Bill, yep. How are you?
Good. Bill, is there anyone else remote from your team?
Nope, just myself.
Okay, so let's start by swearing Bill in. Bill, even though you're remote,
Is she gonna speak on behalf of the same company? She's also with.
are you an engineer, you're with AC Power or working with them on the project? Yeah, so if you would each raise your right hands and say I, and state your name,
I, Bill Tremarky,
I, Colleen Thomas.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
swear to tell the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Very good. So you can present in any order you like. Everyone is apprised and has had an opportunity to review the application materials. The code sets forth the standards by which a special permit is evaluated by the Planning and Zoning Committee. This is an advisory body that will make a recommendation to the village board, who immediately afterwards, more or less, will then conduct a meeting in which this is on the agenda for final action. The relevance of the advisory body is if they make a negative recommendation, then it triggers a supermajority, higher threshold vote requirement by the final body that has the say. So we're a little bit under the gun in that we have only till 7 o'clock when the village board is going to meet. So I will stop talking. The floor is yours in whatever order you want to present. And then we'll, I think, open it up to the public for comment or questions in the board itself, and we'll go from there.
Okay, am I okay to begin now?
Yes.
Okay, well, first, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came out, everybody on the board, Sandy, Mark, everybody who's worked with us leading up to the submitting of the application. We really appreciate all the back and forths with the emailing and the calls and just the general cooperation and help that you've provided us with. So very much appreciated. So just to jump into it, my name is Bill Tremarkey. I'm the Director of Project Development at AC Power, and I'm presenting alongside with our engineer from TRC Companies, Colleen Thomas. She's the Senior Civil Engineer. And I will, at certain points in the presentation, pass it over to Colleen to discuss items relating to the design and engineering of the project. So this is a presentation for AC Power 49 LLC regarding the application for special use permit, which we submitted on 4/16/2024 for a solar landfill project at 8900 Illinois 251 in Davis Junction, Illinois. Yeah. So tonight we're going to go over a introduction to AC Power. We're going to discuss the project location and proposed project overview. We're going to go over the site plan, fencing details, and racking design. I'm going to discuss design setbacks, and I have a slide about sound as well. And I've got a few more slides below that about visual street views. We did a little bit of desktop due diligence with that. And then last but not least, I'm going to discuss community solar, which is what this project is. We're hoping to apply this project for community solar. So I'm going to discuss what that is and what the benefits are. So AC Power, what we do, the company was founded in 2016 by Annika Colston, who prior to starting AC Power, she was in the landfill gas to energy industry for a very long time. So that's, why we work on sites that are landfills, previously disturbed properties, and we turn them into revenue generating solar projects that also re-energize communities. Something that we bring to the table is, like I mentioned, unparalleled experience in brownfield development. Our whole team is very used to and experienced at working on challenging sites like landfills and brownfields and disturbed sites. Our pipeline across the US is around 240 megawatts. We have about a dozen sites in Illinois that are under development and one adjustable block program award and two that are currently waitlisted. I'll talk about the adjustable block program when I discuss community solar. That's just a little bit about the company, and the two pictures on the right-hand side of the screen are similar landfill and disturbed site projects that we've built in New Jersey. Just a little bit about the site. Like I mentioned earlier, it's at 8900 Illinois 251 in Davis Junction. The site is owned by BFI Waste Systems, LLC, which is an entity of Republic Services, and Jim Hitzroth. Jim, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, is also with us tonight. He's site manager for this site. The access into the project area for the construction and operation of the facility will be from an existing driveway off of Illinois 251. As far as zoning goes, the Village of Davis Junction has determined this property to be located in industrial district, and AC Power 49 LLC has applied for a special use permit to the Village of Davis Junction to operate and construct solar energy facility. And it is currently a capped landfill. The project parcel, the whole site is around 150 acres, and the area where we're going to be building on is around 29 acres. We are planning on a 4.99 megawatt AC system, distributed generation scale solar PV. And I mentioned we plan to submit the project to the adjustable block program, which is Illinois' community solar program. The preliminary panel module count at the moment is 10,140 585 watt panels. Of course, the make and model are subject to final electrical design and availability during procurement during the building phase. The module tilt angle is around 30 degrees. Utility that we're going to be working with is ComEdison or ComEd. And again, the incentive is adjustable block program, Illinois Shines for community solar. And we have submitted our interconnection application to ComEd, and we are just awaiting feedback and guidance from them. So here you can see the project location surrounded by Gensler Gardens to the north. We have some other landfills surrounding the site as well from Superior Hills Orchard landfills. And then right in the middle with the yellow outline here is the BFI waste, the BFI Systems landfill that we're discussing tonight. So I'm going to pass it off to Colleen, who will discuss more, the preliminary site design and talk about, what we've done so far. So Colleen, take it away.
Thanks, Bill. So in general, the site is pretty straightforward, what you've seen in the outline. The majority of the panels will be placed on the east side of site. And then the transformers are what you're seeing right up against the road off of 251. That's also where the site access will come in off of. There will be 2 generators there. They are about 100 feet away from the right-of-way line, which puts it about 150 feet away from the edge of pavement there. The rest of it, the general spacing, right? There's enough spacing for there to be a truck to get through for maintenance activities. But the only gravel or, pavement really, it'll be concrete through the roadway for IDOT and then, through the right of way. And then we'll move to gravel, and it'll be gravel all the way up to the start of the panels. And then the rest of it will just be grass, and it's at a slope that it could be traversed right now with a regular truck. There will be very minor grading activities, only limited to the roadway. So only within that first 200 feet off of the right of way, there would be some minor grading for that. And then also the transformers. And then there will be fencing all the way around the entire property. So there's no worry about anybody getting on there that could potentially hurt themselves with any of the equipment. Per code, that fencing will be 7 feet tall all the way around the site. And we'll only have, the gate will remain locked at all times. So I think that covers the preliminary site design. Does anybody have any questions on this before we jump to the next? Okay.
No questions.
No, I didn't see anybody have any questions, so.
Just to add to Colleen's very well put description of this, AC Power has built projects on landfills for the entirety of, it being a company. And, we are very experienced at, and we are familiar with all the features that are present on a landfill and within a landfill. So we take these, very seriously, and we work directly with the site managers to understand, have a better understanding of what's there and what we need to do. And we've actually been to the site ourselves as well on an earlier site visit. So very familiar with this kind of terrain and type of project.
Thank you. That's the one thing I didn't mention is, so when I said minor grading activities, all of that will be outside of the limits of waste. So there's no potential to, to disrupt or have any kind of impact to the existing waste that's been covered. Great. Fencing details. So fencing details already mentioned, it'll go up to a minimum of 7 feet. There will be a minor gap at the bottom to allow for water to continue to flow as it does today. So there won't be any impediments there. Still working out all the requirements with the fire department, but there will be a knockbox there for key access. Like I said, the gate will remain locked at all times, but we'll provide adequate safety equipment there for emergency access. And the fence is just going to be chain link. It'll be 9 gauge, pretty standard fencing out there. Anybody have any questions on the fencing at all? Then next is the racking details. So typically the panel will stay at a 30-degree tilt. The minimum distance from the panel on the low side there is about 3 feet down to ground. And then the maximum height on the other end is about 13.4. So when you picture the panel tilted, this end is 3 feet, the other side is 13. So it won't be too high in the air, just to give you an idea, visually how much of it would you be able to see. Yeah, and then they're all going to be mounted on ballast. So that's the other way that. Yeah, nice.
So they will be fixed panels, they won't tilt with the sun.
Yes, fixed tilt. So 30 degrees, there's no adjustment there.
Okay.
The 13.4 max height, that is an all-in, that's not plus whatever you indicated we mounted on ballast. Is that included in that 13.4 or is it 13.4
Yes.
on top? Okay.
It is, that includes it. Included in the ballast. And so on these details, hopefully you can see it, but they'll all be mounted on a ballast. The structural engineer will determine that exact thickness of it, but that's how we will make sure that we don't disturb any of the capped landfill soils there. Instead of having anything, ground driven, and it'll all be mounted on ballasts. All right, I think we can move on. So the setbacks we're working with here, we're not close to really any of the setbacks. We're being very generous here. In general, the setbacks vary between 10 and 40 feet. Pretty much everywhere, we don't have our fencing starting anywhere closer than 100 feet from the property line. And even then from there, it's another 20 to 50 feet before there's any panels. So from where the panels are, I mentioned that earlier too, the fencing isn't even within 100 feet of the property line. So all the panels would be 150 feet or more in from that. And the only property line we get close to is along 251. The rest of it is really interior to the landfill itself. So front yard is 40. The corner and side yard is 30. But like I mentioned, since everything's kind of nestled on that east side, we don't have as many, we don't even really get close. You can see, I think, on that rear yard setback on the next one. Yeah, you can see the rear yard 30 feet there, and then we're way over to the east there. Last one, interior side yard is 10 feet. That's on the south end here. Again, we're very far away from that. So just trying to keep it as central to an area that nobody's seen today. So the only other question that sometimes neighbors have, other than just will they be able to see the panels? The other one is, what will it sound like? Will they be able to hear it? And in general, you won't be able to hear the panels themselves. The transformers can get a little bit loud. We have 2 of those that are up along 251. And this table that you're seeing on screen, we generally fall in that third from the bottom. Each transformer is said to sound about 50 decibels. And what that sounds like is a dishwasher. If you're sitting in the next room and you're watching TV, you hear your dishwasher running. That's it. Being that we're over 100 feet from that right-of-way line, you might be able to hear it from the roadway there, but there's a very small chance that any neighbors would ever be able to hear it from their property, pretty much negligible.
Yeah, so like I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, we did a desktop visual analysis, dropping pins all around the property line on Google Earth, and tried to get views from all the roads that run along the project site. So the first visual that I have is a street view heading north on Illinois 251 towards the access site, which is, I don't know if you all can see my mouse moving.
Yep.
Can you see? So it's right about here where this car in the road is. That's about where the access point is, I believe. Colleen, is that correct?
What road
That's
was
where-
that on?
That's where the existing access.
Yeah.
It's 251.
This is Illinois 251 heading north
Yeah.
towards Edson Road. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of existing trees and vegetation along Illinois 251. So visually, it won't be an issue here. Again, as Colleen mentioned, due to this generous setbacks that we're providing already, and then with the existing vegetation along the road, visually it will not be a problem. This is a street view of the existing site access from Illinois 251. This is what I was just pointing out on the previous slide. And here we have a street view from the corner of I-39 and Edson Road towards the project site, which is right around here.
No, that's 251 in Edison. They call it I-39 alternate, but it's still 251.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to come to a meeting. You know, I kind of wrestled with which one this was.
Yeah, so even though it says I-39 alternate, it's only referred to locally as 251.
I had a feeling that that was going to be the case. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. So from Illinois 251 and the corner of Illinois 251 and Edson Road, as you can see, you know, plenty of existing vegetation. And this is not a residential area either. So visually it will be of little impact. And then I followed the street view onto Edson Road a little bit just to see what it was like on the northern end of the site of midway down Edson Road towards Illinois 251. As you can see, there's quite a bit of vegetation and there's a lot of space between the road and where the panels will actually be. So we're looking good there. So I mentioned earlier that we plan on applying to community solar. So what community solar is it's solar energy projects that allows multiple customers, including individuals, businesses, and nonprofits to benefit from solar power generated from an offsite location. And in our case, it will be the site that we're discussing here tonight. So this is a perfect model for those who cannot install solar panels directly on their home, whether they don't have the space for it or the orientation of their roof is not good, or they simply don't want to install solar panels on their home, but they want the benefits of the solar panels. This is what community solar is for. And also, you know, regardless of your housing situation, whether you're a renter or a homeowner, you can still subscribe to the community solar program, and you will get lowered electricity costs. So the way it works is, you know, the solar panels at the site, in this case, that's the site we're talking about here tonight. The panels generate sunlight converts into electricity, which is then sent to the utility grid. From there, customers can subscribe to a share of the community solar project through a third-party subscription service. So ComEd, who is the utility, has a list of all the subscriber organizations that they use. So, you know, you can all take a look on their website. We have not picked our subscriber as we don't have an award from the community solar program yet. So we don't yet know who the subscriber organization will be. But then from there, the subscribers will receive a credit on their electric bill for their share of the power produced. So we are proposing this project here on this site, and the power generated from the project will benefit anybody who lives in the area and they can subscribe to it and get, you know, lowered electricity. I mentioned that the benefits are that it allows everybody to participate regardless of your housing situation, cost savings from 5 to 20% annually on your electric bills. This supports transition to renewable energy. Community solar is really an amazing program because it involves, you know, municipal, like the Village of Davis Junction, in coordination with the program, and the program talks to the state, and everybody is working towards having a positive environmental impact on those in the community. So it's a really great program. And energy equity as well prioritizes benefits to low to moderate income individuals and households. Yeah, so it's just a really great program that AC Power believes in very much. We believe that if we're going to install a big system like this, that it should benefit the community. So that's what we're doing here. Or that's what we're proposing to do here. I think that's the last slide. Yeah, that's the last slide. Does anybody have any questions?
Bill, I have a couple, so this is Mark Heinley, the attorney. I have a couple questions, just to make sure. I had, pre-written some draft findings of fact for the PZC, to consider, and a couple of your comments, I jotted notes. I want to make sure I've got it right, just so I can help the PZC clarify their findings. I had indicated in my draft findings that on your overall 150 acre parcel, that you'd be building on roughly half of it, about 73 acres, but I believe I heard you say 29. Is that correct? Okay, so.
Correct.
All right. In the same spirit, for the record, Bill nodded. I had indicated that the highest point on the solar panels was going to be 8 feet 8 inches. That should be 13.4. I heard, is that correct?
Colleen, do you want to?
Yep, correct. Okay. And then finally, the chain link fence, I had indicated, I'm not sure where you saw this, was 10 feet 6 inches. It's can only be 7 feet high. Correct?
Correct.
And then finally, your access route, I had indicated it'd be gravel. It's going to be a mix of paved and gravel, with the portion closest to 251 being improved with asphalt or whatever, right? And then transitions to gravel. Okay. That was it. I just wanted to make sure I had those clarifications.
All great questions. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
Can I ask one, Mark?
Sure.
You, kind of.
Sure.
So I did see that there was a space in the resolution for the dollar amount for the letter of credit, but I can't remember how we came up with that dollar amount previously, and so I don't know where that comes from.
The discussions about what you guys would call the decommissioning fee set by the state. I believe the state of Illinois is the body that requires a decommissioning fee to be posted with the host community to, so at the end of life, it's a source of funding that could be tapped if AC Power or some future entity that inherits the rights to the solar field is no longer around or doesn't satisfactorily restore, regrade the property or whatever is involved. So that is the question, the 10% decommissioning fee. Right now, we just have a blank there. I don't believe it's a discretionary figure. I believe it's determined by the state. I don't have the formula in front of me. Have I said anything that's catching you by surprise, or this is all familiar to you?
Yeah, all familiar.
Okay. I think what we'll probably need to do on our end is, have you determined what the decommissioning fee is yet from I know the state,
yet.
what it's going to be.
Colleen, that may be able to answer that, and apologies, Colleen, if that's not something that we've done yet to this point.
No,
Sorry
yeah.
for putting you on the spot if that's not the case.
No worries. Yeah, everything you've said is right. It'll be determined by the state. As far as I know right now, we have not received that determination yet, so it will be provided at the time that we receive it.
Right. So and for this body's knowledge, in section 4 of the draft PZC, it's numbered page 5 and it continues on to page 6. If in fact you make a favorable recommendation, we included some conditions on that, and these are fairly standard things that we have done in the past with other solar projects. It's things like before they put a shovel in the ground, they have to actually apply for the building permits, because zoning approval is not the same as the actual obtaining building permits. And one of those conditions is that the decommissioning fee needs to be posted. And there's a technical paragraph about the amounts, but we have a blank space because it's an amount that's determined and will be informed by the state. So that blank will just need to be filled in at some point before they commence construction activities, but no one's in a position to know what that number is right now. So that's what that's about. If you don't have any questions right now, we can open it up to the public or anyone in attendance to offer comments or ask questions, if anyone.
I have some comments. I've lived out here for going on 30 years. And this site looks like they're building it on top of the very first site that was approved for the landfill. And it is known by county board that there's hazardous waste buried in there. And I was also told that there was nuclear waste buried in there. Now, I don't have any way to prove the nuclear waste, but I did hear from the county board member that there was hazardous waste buried at that site. So I don't believe that when you install your pedestals that you'll be going down that far. But if there's a problem with that hazardous waste in the next 20 years, who's going to be responsible to remove those panels for the cleanup?
Well, that's a very good question. That would be something that would be set forth in the decommissioning plan, as Mark mentioned. Jim, do you want to speak to the landfill itself? And I don't know if that's something that you might want to discuss.
One, he's not sworn in, and two, he's got to speak in the mic.
Agreed. I was going to swear you in if you, first, if you'll step up to the mic and state your name for the record, so we know who you are.
Jim Hitzroth, Environmental Manager,
Environmental manager for,
BFI Waste Systems of North America, LLC.
okay, and that's the property owner.
Yeah.
Jim, can you say aye and then say your name again?
I, Jim Hitzroth,
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay, and I believe the question on the floor, there was a comment or conjecture about the nature of the materials and waste buried underneath there. So if you can address that or address the extent to which the construction activities would have any impact on that, or, you know, whatever.
Absolutely. So, phase one, which is the far western area, that the panels do not sit on. That is the RCRA facility for this site. So the way the site was constructed, it was phase one, and then the panels sit on phase 2 and 3. Phase 2 and 3 are just a solid waste site. So what had happened, how this filling progressed was back in the 80s, 90s, when they first started filling this site, they started with phase 1. As they were filling that phase, certain waste streams were reclassified as hazardous. Now, it's not necessarily hazardous material, but it was reclassified as hazardous. And at that point, BFI was given the option of operating a hazardous waste site, which is a RCRA hazardous waste site, which is different than a hazardous waste site. So it's a RCRA hazardous waste site. And about less than 2% or around 2% of the waste that was reclassified was put in that phase 1 area. So all the constituents, the leachates, the gas, all of that is not hazardous by analytical means. The only reason it's classified hazardous is because at one time they decided to become a hazardous waste site to take these few loads of whatever materials they were taking at the time. At some point they stopped, and that's where they ended phase 1. And at phase 1, they built a division wall in between phase 1 and phase 2 and 3. So they're totally separate. So the RCRA side is fenced off. follows the RCRA hazardous waste guidelines. And then the other side does not. So analytically, it's no different than the other side. It's just that something was reclassified at one time, which threw it into that program. If that makes sense to everybody. So
Yeah, I get it, but what did they reclassify? What material got put in there?
it was some sludges or something. It was so many years ago.
Well, there's gotta be a manifest on it.
Yeah, there probably is somewhere. Yeah. But again, you know, it was closed and it just runs under that program because of the way things were classified. So, and the solar panels do not sit on any portion of that. So,
Well, I wasn't sure where the first cell in it and the second
Yeah.
cell started.
so
Is
there's
that
there's
the
actually
gray
a,
area?
it's kind of a line right along the edge of the panels there. There's actually a fence that surrounds the phase one area, a whole separate fence.
Yeah. Cause when they did the phase one, the first thing they did was build the berm and put big landscaping rocks and planted a bunch of trees to hide it all. And that area is turned into a deer haven. And a pheasant haven and a lot of wildlife in there.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're not trying to put it there.
Right.
Because we lose enough ground to this stuff.
But you have to remember, this site has been closed, the phase one side has been closed for almost over 30 years now. There's never been any issues, those have never been groundwater impacts, there's never been gas impacts, it's an entombed. It's again, it's the same as the phase two and phase three, it's just that it had a different classification.
Right.
Yeah, and so. Really, I mean, rainwater, nothing is escape or nothing's infiltrating, nothing's escaping, everything is tight and sealed and solid in this site.
I wonder about the settling of the property. How long does that settle and is it done?
It never really stops settling. The major settlement usually occurs in the first, 10 or 15 years. So we're beyond that major settlement point, but it's still a little settle here and there,
How is that going to affect the panels?
It will not. It's a fairly flat site. This site really doesn't sell that much. I actually manage 8 closed landfills over northern Illinois. And this by far is probably one of the tightest sites I've ever seen. It doesn't settle much. It was well constructed. It doesn't have a lot of slope. It has enough slope for runoff. It's just very well designed. Originally from the original design, and it was well constructed, well built, well capped. We don't have issues. We don't have groundwater issues. The gas is running out. As you know, there used to be a gas energy facility there. That's no longer there because it just doesn't produce enough gas to make it feasible to run something like that. And that's why a project like this is great for us. This is a site that you can't really do anything with other than projects like this, and it's a great project. We're excited about it.
So the last company that was here has the same program where you have to buy into their program to get a discount in the electricity. Is that what I heard, right?
Correct. So the way that this program works, some benefits of community solar and the program itself are that it's an opt-in and opt-out program. So you're not bound to, a year-long contract that you can't get out of if you want to get out of it. So it's really made for everybody. And just to add to what Jim said about being excited about the project and developing it on a site like this, community solar is an added, benefit that we believe in. Like I mentioned earlier in the presentation too, we're not just coming to develop this site here and leave it at that. We want the whole community to be able to participate and benefit from it as well. And any other questions?
So real quick, I don't know, in one of these pictures you have, we talk about the ballast. Okay, there's a New Jersey plant around Cubs, is that similar? When we talk about, so you don't have to dig down?
Very similar. Yes, exactly. So on these landfill sites, because of the nature of the site, we don't want to drill or dig down. So that's why we choose the ballast so that they sit on top and they're not, a permanent. I mean, they're permanent, but they're not fixed into, the ground by way of drilling or anything like that. This is pretty standard for all of the landfills that we've worked on up to this point. We'll always use ballasted systems.
This is Mark Hanley, the attorney again. In anticipation of where the discussion would go, I have a finding which I can just scratch out, but to the extent that the body is interested, I have a blank space for the duration of the build out. I know there's a period of time where you have to get funding and approvals from bodies other than the village. Once those approvals are in hand and the project starts, what is a timetable for completing the initial build out?
So at least in New Jersey, the program that we have here in New Jersey allows us 24 months to build the project. And I believe we're shooting for a similar time frame.
The village itself.
Yeah, so the Village of Davis Junction has a default 12-month period from the time that a special permit is secured to get a shovel in the ground. We've seen this sort of project before. I can't speak for the village. In the past, the village has become aware that these projects sometimes have a long lead time in terms of third-party approvals and there are ways to address that eventually, but since that's not part of the matter before you tonight, I don't think there's anything to be done about that tonight, but you guys could request an extension and then that would go wherever it would go.
Yeah, I would say 12 to 24 months is a standard time frame for a system like this. But again, it's a bit early in the process here to have a real figure for that.
So just to clarify my question, so I understand the time horizon from tonight to when this might be finished. But I mean, if day one is the first day that a solar panel arrives on a truck or maybe that's not day one. I don't know what the stages of construction are. It's probably building the access route or whatever. From that for day one of construction, are you saying it's a 1 to 2 year project to have the field completed, or maybe that is what you're saying?
Typically, but it depends. Obviously, we will follow whatever code the Village of Davis Junction has, since that's where we're building the project.
Brett, if there are no more questions or comments from anybody that's in the crowd here, and there might be, I think, but once everyone is done commenting, you can close the public hearing and then discuss amongst yourselves, and you'd be looking for a motion. Probably the easiest way to do it, regardless of how the vote comes out, would be to have the motion be in the affirmative to approve it, subject to the conditions, and then we succeed or fail.
And you're referring to the resolution then?
Yeah.
So there's nothing further, then we'll close the public hearing. And then take a motion for the resolution.
If there's discussion first, whatever.
I'd rather, as I say, motion second, discussion like we do everything else. So, does anyone want to make a motion? Motion.
Oh, God, I gotta read that. Motion,
See,
motion to discussion the possible approval for the resolution 24R01.
The whole thing.
Finding of fact and recommending approval of site plan, special permit conditionally authorizing development of a community solar garden at 8900 North Illinois Route 251, Davis Junction.
Would you be amenable, before that seconded, to, I, on the record, identified a couple of areas where a couple of my numbers were inaccurate. So on page 2, that 73 acres should be changed to 29 acres. On page 3, there's a blank for who testified in front of us, because I didn't know who that would be. I would suggest, if it pleases you guys, that we fill that in with Bill Tremarky, Jim Hezarath, and Colleen Thomas, or people that spoke to you. On page 4, about halfway down in subparagraph B, there's a reference to an 8'8" max height of the solar panels, and we heard tonight that's 13.4. The end of that same paragraph, the 10-foot 6-inch chain link fence reference should be a 7-foot fence. Subparagraph D, they clarified in that third line of paragraph D that the access road will be a mix of, it'll be partially paved and gravel. And then finally, it's a 12 to 24 month build out period on the top of page 5. So those, so I would suggest that you consider withdrawing and amending your motion to approve the resolution with those amendments.
So just state that you wish to withdraw your motion,
Okay, I wish to withdraw my motion
and then
and,
it's a motion to approve resolution blah, blah, blah.
As amended on the record.
and approve the motion as amended on the record
Yeah.
with the changes.
Yep.
So,
Good enough.
Still need a second? Second. And then, so we wanted to do a roll call on that?
We can, or if there's
Or
discussion.
if there's any
or
further
you can
discussion,
just- We can vote.
yeah, I
Figured it was.
just had I think we touched on this the other day. You mentioned other projects, and as of now, there are no other projects.
There's one other project. You guys have seen 3 before you. The
Right,
first
that's what I
one you
meant.
guys saw has expired, so you are down to just the one you've already approved in this one.
Okay. I just don't have 20 solar farms.
You do not, so you're
Okay.
not, the other one, the first one expired.
Any concerns about?
Roll call.
You guys gonna?
All right. Jen is absent. David,
Yay.
Greg,
Okay,
Brett,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion carries. So your findings of fact as amended and drafted will go, and frankly already have gone to the village board, and they'll make the final determination. And at this point, a majority of the board will be good enough for final approval. So there's a motion to adjourn.
Any,
Public comment, Mark.
I thought it's been asked for several times.
No,
Okay.
that was
yeah.
in
No.
reference to the public hearing. It is on the agenda separately.
because we don't have any unfinished business really, so public comment. None?
Negative.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second it.
You just do all in favor?
Yep.
Aye,
See you next year.
you're adjourned.
Thank you, Ben.